Hello, everyone, and welcome back to season 2, episode 9 of Talking with Ty. It seems like it has been a while since I have seen you guys. Please forgive me for the small break, but as you can see from my social media, guys, I have been traveling and I have been standing on stages. I'm talking with Ty. I'm used to bringing people on here to tell their story, but guess what? I've been around the world telling my story. So, huge shout out to the Alabama Apartment Association for inviting me to their 2023 education conference to tell my story about breaking the changes of unconscious bias in the multifamily industry. And to the BAM fam. The BAM companies invited me out to be a keynote speaker. Guys, this was huge for my career because, in case you did not know, I know you guys have seen me around for a while, but this was my first time being a keynote speaker. I am an advanced facilitator through the National Apartment Association's Education Institute. So I'm always out there teaching, guys. But to stand on the stage and tell my own story in my own words, this marks the 20th year of my career in the multifamily industry. So it was a huge honor to be able to tell my story. And hopefully, I'm talking with Ty one day, I'm able to tell my stories to you guys. But today is not about me. Before we get started, for anybody, if it's your first time tuning in, guys, Talking with Ty is a live, unscripted podcast that airs every Tuesday. I try to air every Tuesday. It's seeming like every other Tuesday, but every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Central. I invite a guest on here from the multifamily industry, and I want you guys to know I am really strategic about the guests that I invite on here. I scout the multifamily industry for who I think are the people that inspire the most, have the most knowledge and the gems to drop on my audience. So I bring these people on here to tell the story behind the brand. And I use this story all the time. We have that person that's out there that we love, that we connect with, that we do business with, but then we don't really know anything else about them. I like to find out the story because I feel like it truly is the story that connects us with people. I always say you hear somebody's story and you find out something about their story that resonates with yours. And it's like, oh my God, that's why I'm connected to her. Like we have the same story. You found out from people like Alex Jackie that she comes from humble beginnings. Greg Sabana was just on here, how he has love for his wife in the industry. Melissa D. White, James Burwell. So we've had some heavy hitters on here. So I couldn't let you guys down this time. I had to continue. So who we have coming up today, guys? Season 2, episode 9 is none other than and I put the in front of her name. You're like, Ty, I am not the Dana Hill. I put this picture up here because this was the first time that I ran into Dana and I saw her on stage. Monica Frazier, I met Monica back, I think this was in Chicago at Apartmentalize. And I met Monica and she was about to go into a session called Nobody Looks Like Me. And Monica was moderating the session and she had got invited by Marcy French. And when I went into this session, I sat in the front row, guys, because guess what? I had never been to a session where everybody looked like me. This session had all Black women on the panel, and they were dropping gems, and I had to know who these women were. So today, I'm going to share with you guys who Dana Hill is. We're going to find out. We're going to get all up in Dana's stuff. We're going to find out who she really is, because what we see on social media and LinkedIn, it tells us that Dana Hill is a senior director of engagement at Rangewater. It says that she's a real estate industry leader on reputation management, risk mitigation, training, DEI, and employee engagement, and so much more. Today, we want to find out the so much more. Welcome, Dana Hill, to the stage.
Oh, Ty,
Dana!
I'll put you in my pocket and just carry you around with me. That was one of the best introductions I have ever received. thank you, and thank you for starting with that photo. It really, first of all, don't get the reputation of anybody that sits down with Ty is going to cry. But that picture really brought some emotions up for me because it spoke to a lot of goals, a lot of uh, my entry into the industry, what I wanted to see, what I was hopeful for, and then to actually be a part of that deliverable was an epic moment for me. So thank you.
You know what? You are welcome. We're going to talk about that picture, but before we talk about that, because I know that picture comes with some significance for you, we're going to talk about how long you've been in the industry and what it took to even get to that picture. So before I ask you anything, I want to tell you something. Clearly, you've been drinking your water and you've been eating right. You look amazing. I want you to know you look amazing. It looks like you have thinned up a little bit. Like you look good. You're doing something and you're being intentional about it, and I can tell.
Thank you so much for noticing, Ty. And the truth is, yes, my message today to anyone that's listening, really take your health seriously. If you are seeing signs and you think, oh, this is just a matter of aging, my doctor shared with me, don't make that assumption unless you have, MD in your name. If you are seeing any differences in your body, go see a physician. And I actually had a moment where I don't normally get headaches. As a matter of fact, I don't carry around aspirin or anything like that because I don't. And if I do, it's like, oh, you just need to eat or you need to rest. But I had one that I couldn't get rid of. And I was like, is this a migraine? Is this what people call a migraine? And talked to my boss and said, I had to leave the office, went and saw my doctor and found out that I was off the scale in terms of my sugar levels and my couldn't even read my blood pressure. And the doctor said, did you drive yourself here? And I was like, yes. And she's like, because really, at the end of the day, everything that we're seeing, you should be in a diabetic coma and you should not be standing here with us. And I cried, of course. And she
Mhm.
said, no, no, we're now going to talk about what the tomorrows look like. And she said, I'm going to take your hand and we're going to go through this journey together. And I'm telling you, this is what healthy looks like. So I appreciate that the weight came off. But Ty, you and I are into fashion. I love it. I think it is an expression of who I am, an extension of who I am. So big or small, I'm going to bring it.
That part.
What?
Right there.
So I
Yeah,
wasn't really worried about losing weight.
it's the
Um,
health.
that was a nice byproduct. But I will say this, even in that picture you showed, you can see some differences in my face. And that people now are saying, Dana, you're aging backwards. And it's really about getting my blood pressure aligned, getting my hormones aligned. That took a lot of that puffiness
Mhm.
out of my face and around the eyes. And so, yeah, this
I
is what
love that.
healthy
And
looks
it's a
like.
message within itself, Dana, when you just said, listen to your body. A lot of people know I started this podcast in honor of one of my best friends that I lost to breast cancer, and it's been 2 years. But one of the things that she taught was listen to your body, friend. She said, friend, I missed it. I was partying, I was working, I was parenting, I was doing all the things that life requires of us, and I missed it. Don't miss it. And we gonna leave that where it's at because we ain't gonna start crying 9 minutes into the phone call. We gonna save that for 45 minutes into it. So Dale, who I'm gonna put this question out there and then I'm gonna let you run with it. Who is Dana? Who is Dana?
Wow. Um, God fearing, woman, mother, friend, educator, and change agent.
Ooh, I love that. So we talked a little bit because upon me doing some research on you, I saw that you were from Baltimore. Give us a little bit about a girl from the East. I love my East Coast girls. Ashia, Dana, them, my Philly girls, Monica, them. They'll tell you. I think that's why I connected with them. Is because they are East Coast girls, and I got a lot of in me. So, what does that look like? Take us back to, we want to go back to the beginning before you even came to the multifamily industry. What was Dana doing? Where was she at? How did we get you?
Wow, that's loaded, but I'm going to try to, bring it into a few minutes for our time here together today. Baltimore, I was just sharing, we did a new hire orientation today here at Rangewater Real Estate, and somebody tapped me and said, Baltimore? And I was like, yes. And it's not just the home of the wire and the homicide. Um, Baltimore really is Charm City. It really is beautiful. It is a hodgepodge of different cultures that are coming together. And I'll tell you, I think just saying this to you today, um, Baltimore was forming informing my thoughts and opinions towards diversity, equity, and inclusion, even before we were putting that moniker on it. Because what I loved, especially about being home, is that everybody showed up as their authentic selves. So when you went into Lexington Market, for all my Baltimore people, Lexington Market had everything. You could go in there and you could get the Polish hot dogs. You could get the deli sandwiches that were too big to put your mouth on. You could get, if you imagined it, it was there. And of course, the seafood, right? Being there close to the water. And what I loved is that everybody was housed in this one big space, but they didn't assimilate. It was what they brought uniquely to that Lexington market, which is how they became profitable, what they delivered to the community. And it was one of my most favorite places to go as a child. Um, Beyond that, I will say that I was blessed with a mother that was way ahead of her time, way ahead of her time. She grew up right in the heart of Baltimore City, and my grandmother cleaned homes for a living. And so sometimes my mom would go and help her. And one of the homes, the family had a huge library. And my mom would be found not cleaning, but sitting in the middle of the floor reading these books that they had in the library. And that gave her love for books. And it also took her beyond her actual experience. And she started having a vision for something that she wasn't living, that wasn't her experience. But that's why I'm a lover of books today. It transforms you and it transports you into places that you might not ever have an opportunity to physically go. But that's the beauty of the mind. We can take ourselves wherever we want to go with the mind. And so my mom eventually graduates high school, and the family asked my grandmother, well, what are you going to do with her? And she said, well, she's going to get a job. And do you know anybody that needs some cleaning? And they said, that young lady who spends all of her time not cleaning, but in our library, they were like, no, she should go to college. And my grandmother was like, oh, we don't, there's no money for that. And they offered to sponsor my mom to go to Morgan State. And it was the beginning of a change for us generationally. as a family. And so she was the first in our family to enter college, but I became one of the first to graduate from college.
Come on, sis.
Um, yes, yes. And so she really just spoke a lot of life into me about nobody's better than me, but I'm no better than anybody else. Um, to have a certain level of respect at all times, no matter who you're engaging with. Have respect for everyone. And my mom used to say this. My mom's no longer with us, but she would say, "You know what, Dana? I'm going to always have a job. We never have to worry about me being able to provide for us." She said, "Even if I have to be a street sweeper, guess what? I'm gonna be the best
Street
street
sweeper.
sweeper you have ever seen. Matter of fact, my broom's gonna be gold, and I and the style, the love of fashion I got from a long line of women in my family. And my mom would say, and I'm going to be the sharpest one out there sweeping the street. And so what I took from that is whatever you do it with excellence and do it with a sense of pride, and especially to do what you do with a mind for giving and for service to others. And so that was another big thing that was important to my mom. She always made sure that no matter what she was exposing me to, whether it was the arts, museums, things that, a lot of times, a lot of kids in my neighborhood were not going to and participating. I was actually one of the only kids walking around in a uniform. I went to parochial school, and so was set apart early on.
Mhm.
And my mother encouraged me to embrace that, but she always still encouraged me to be mindful of those that were less fortunate. So we fed the homeless. We worked for United Way. We volunteered to walk and to do all of those things. So that's what informed me as a child. And here I am, Dana Hill, having this opportunity in
I love
your
that.
platform.
I love that, Dana, because one, you remind me of Melissa when you talk about how much influence that your mother had on your beginning, and mine too. I knew how to read on the fourth grade level by the time I was in kindergarten, and it was from my mother working with me. So
Impressive.
I love that aspect of it. Going back to Baltimore and a person, one of the things that you guys might not know about me, as soon as I graduated high school, I took off and moved to Baltimore. So I have family that lives out there. And you're right, before diversity, equity, and inclusion became huge, Baltimore is one of those places because I live in Arkansas. Here you're gonna see white, black people, and probably some Hispanics. In Baltimore, I was exposed to different cultures, different languages, different people. And you're right. The thing that I love about the East Coast and I still love about New York today is there is no other place where you can show up as your authentic self and don't nobody care. Don't nobody care in New York if you walk around with a bowl on your head. If I got this on, that on, nobody is checking for you.
At
And
all.
because the moment we give people permission at all, the moment we give people permission to be themselves is the moment that they truly begin to walk in a purpose and thrive in the 100% of themselves because we give people permission to be themselves. So I
That's where the
definitely love
nuggets
that. So
are. That's where the
exactly
nuggets are. That's where the diamonds live, right there.
that right there is when people can be themselves. Apartment Finder, and I talk about Michelle Childers all the time for when she hired me with Finder. It was the first job where nobody said my look was too exotic. My natural hair didn't matter anymore. I made Rookie of the Year the first year for her. Ran like a whole fool in Memphis and outsold the competition. But I wasn't exhausted with putting on a mask every day. I wasn't like some of the women I heard say we were talking about wearing wigs, and they like about 3 o'clock, that wig is sitting in the passenger side of the seat. Head been hurt all day trying to have straight hair at work. Let folk be them. Let
Let them
folks
be
be them.
them. And that
Went to college. I saw that you went to Frostburg. How did that? So we went to college. What were we going to college to be? Because I know you weren't going to college with the thoughts of working in our industry. Or prove me wrong if you were. You're gonna be the first person I ever heard that said that.
You called it
So
right.
what were we gonna
I
be?
didn't even know this was an industry. I had no idea this was an industry. So when I found myself at Frostburg, a little teacher's college in the mountains of Western Maryland, I was actually studying political science with a minor in criminal justice. And like I said, change agent, I met a librarian. Let's go back to Baltimore. My mother and I would go to the Park Heights Avenue Library every Wednesday, and we would get books. And at that time, I was reading Judy Blume and um, all of the traditional junior teen books, and I was reading above my grade level too. Um, and this Black librarian said, have you ever considered James Baldwin, If Beale Street Could Talk, or Alice Walker? And so I was like, who are these people? And she introduced me to James Baldwin and Alice Walker and Toni Morrison. And the list goes on and on. Zora Neale Hurston, one of my all-time favorite authors, persons, people, being, all of the things. Um, and Phyllis Wheatley, surprisingly. And so these people, I like read this and saw myself, like saw my family, saw Uncle Watkins and Aunt Jean and all the, I saw them and I was like, these are my people. And so getting to Frostburg, I said, you know what? I want to be that person that helps to keep the movement going forward. I want to be somebody like a Phyllis Wheatley, like a Zora Neale Hurston, like people who really broke the mold, who did not accept that this was not for them. Zora, I love that she wrote in, the Ebonics of the Black American, right? And she wouldn't change that style to accommodate publishers who thought that wasn't a deliverable, and she stuck to that. And that authenticity spoke to me. And so to be able to break these chains and show up differently, but still show up and be impactful, that's what I wanted to do. So I get to Frostburg and I'm going to change the world. And so with, and being part of the system, I was going to be part of the system
Mhm.
to change the system and do it from within.
So how did? Okay, so going from you know what, and maybe I think Melissa and see me, you and Melissa gonna have a girl date
Yes.
because we say some of the same things. I always thought I was gonna be a lawyer. I was gonna go to Spelman. I was going to be a lawyer. I was going to be a criminal attorney. And I'm over here in the multifamily industry. Exactly. How did this happen? So mine starting right there in college. Because how long have you been in the multifamily industry?
So I started in with a real estate publishing house back in 91.
Okay. Yes, because I saw that you were on the supplier side. So let's talk about how did you even get your start in this industry? How did you enter in? What role did you come in as?
So, unlike most of us, I actually started on what we call the dark side, which is the supplier side of the industry. And I actually, it was a crazy day, crazy day. I was working towards my goal of being a change agent. And I graduated and was offered an opportunity to work for the mayor. She made mayor of Baltimore City, and I'm feeling bad. I can't think of her last name, but her first name was Sheila. Um, and I worked with a woman who knew her really well. And so she gave me an opportunity to share some of my writing. And so I was going to be a speech writer for Sheila, who was over the city council of Baltimore at the time. Fortunately, the city was going through some economic issues. And so she said, Dana, how about I give this opportunity to somebody with a family, and you continue to work on your writing and marketing and come back and see me in a couple of years. So I ended up working for another Black female who had her own um, marketing company. And she did all types of events, planned events, awards, different opportunities like that I was able to build some skills around, some social skills around, and how to market and campaign. And one day trying to get to work, my car breaks down. So I have to take the bus. And as I share, I love to read. So you would never find me then without a book. Today, sometimes I don't have that luxury. So I didn't have a book. I wasn't planning on being on the bus that day. So I go check the free magazines that they had on the streets. Remember, they had the boxes where you could
Uh-huh.
grab and get. So I
Yep.
grabbed this magazine called Jobs Magazine, and just to have something to read and to deter people from starting a conversation. And I saw a
Okay.
job with this real estate publishing house, and it was saying, to design ads and write. And I was like, oh, this will be another way for me to keep honing my skill, working on preparation and skills. So when that opportunity comes, that I would be prepared for it, right?
Mhm.
I knew those lessons early on. And so I go interview, and it's a real estate publishing house, go to work there, and it's actually putting me in a boiler room with a bunch of men, and maybe one other female. I was the youngest one in the group, and we are writing ads for employment. That was this whole big marketing. Talk about a bait and switch. And so, I felt like a fish out of water, but I learned a lot about writing ads
Mhm.
and how to sell over the phone. And I think if you can sell over the phone, you can sell anything.
Yes.
And I was fortunate enough to be reporting to another Black woman who was running that department. And so I felt like Source was lining me up with these people, because they say if you can see it, you can be it. Well, I was seeing these powerful Black women owning businesses and running their own division and doing it excellently, that I knew that could be mine as well. Well, I see these fabulous people floating in and out of the building on Wednesdays. And I'm like, what do they do? And I asked my supervisor at the time, and she said, oh, they work for Apartment Shoppers Guide, but that's not for you. That's pretty exclusive.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you for the motivation. Thank you. And I hear most of us have that same thread where just tell me no, just tell me I can't. And now I'm motivated to show you differently. And
And
so
watch.
I start, right. And so I started getting to know the people who ran that department and making myself known to them. And they eventually offered me an opportunity to start at the floor, the ground, customer service, delivering the apartment shoppers guides to our advertisers. Back then, there wasn't a Baltimore publication, it was just the Washington publication. So they had decided they were going to start a Baltimore one, and I could be the customer service rep. And at the same time, this is incredible to me. At the same time, I get offered to be the supervisor of that boiler room. my boss got promoted, and she said, "You're going to be, you're going to take my place." And I was excited. I thought, here I came in, the youngest one in the room, most of these men, but outsold everybody. I mean, my name was always at the top
Mhm.
of the leaderboard all the time. And and look, I have to share this, because for all of you that might be listening that are a little bit younger and you're not where you want to be, please show up knowing that you can be impactful right where you are. And you can be an agent of change right where you are. Just don't be afraid to use your voice. I was noticing that we were getting chargebacks for errors in the ad. And
Mhm.
it was kind of spread out amongst the whole team. So it wasn't like if all of my ads were perfect, then I was fine. It was like if whatever that chargeback was for the department, it was spread to all of us. Well, I was a single mom by that time. My mom had passed, and I could not
Mhm.
afford to lose any of my coins, not one red penny. So I offered to be an editor. Never did that before, didn't know what it was, but I did know that I knew how to conjugate a verb, and I was pretty good at writing. And so I started auditing our ads, and it meant staying home. I mean, staying at the office in Silver Spring late nights into 10 o'clock. And I have my sister, um, anybody else would call her my friend because I was an only child, but she's my sister, and she brought me into her family, and they are my sisters. And her mom
Mhm.
adopted me basically socially, after my mom passed. And so my sister, Robin Davis, I know you're listening, love you.
Yes, and Robin
All,
says Sheila's last name is Dixon. The mayor.
Robin was McGeechern. She,
Robin is telling us, she said, I think she
oh,
said
Sheila
Dixon, maybe.
Dixon. Yes, thank you,
Yeah, Sheila's
Robin.
last name is Dixon. Yes.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Robin. So
Yeah.
Robin offered, she's like, Dana, I will watch Aaron for you while you do this. And so really saved all of us a lot of money. And so much so that I got the attention of those that owned the publishing house. And so when Paula was being promoted, they were like, well, what about that young girl that started coming in and editing the
Mhm.
magazine before it went to print? And so I get offered the thing that I say I want, at the same time getting offered a promotion. So these people are saying the thing that I want, the carrot, is saying, well, you can come, but you got to come in on the ground floor.
Mhm.
And these people are like, we're going to elevate you. So I had to have a conversation with God,
Mhm.
and God reminded me that get in where you fit in, and I'll do the rest. And I said, I'm going to start
Oh
on the
yeah.
ground floor with something that has this greater, bigger potential than being the top of something that has a lot less potential.
You know what?
I,
I'm gonna stop you, Dana, right there. I take notes for my replays and for the reels and things of when somebody says something very impactful. What you said right there brought chills all over me. When you said get in where you fit in and that you had the conversation with God. There's so many times in this industry we lose sight, and not in this industry, in life.
in
We
life,
lose sight of the covenant and the promise that we have with God and what we've talked about because something gets dangled over here. And well, I want that because we live in a microwave society and we want things so fast. And it's like, but you've been praying about this. I ain't even heard you talk about that. You've been praying about this. You've been begging me for it. You've been talking about it. You've been making preparation. And the moment I give it to you and I test your faith to see are you really ready to go to the next level? All I got to do is put a shiny something in front of you, and you gone on with it. So when I think about how you elevated so fast, I don't really even got to ask you that question now, because I see you follow the path that God had aligned and laid out for you, and you prayed on it, and you were obedient.
Amen. Amen. And then surrounded by wonderful people like my sister, Robin, who reminds you all the time to stay on course. And we are able to have those very authentic conversations where we let our hair down and show the dirty. You got to have one of those in your life. And they keep it 100 with you. And so she I credit her, because it was my mom forever. It was my cheerleader, and then I was blessed with somebody like Robin Davis in my life today, who helped me. So, guys, I took the basement level opportunity and started with Apartment Shoppers Guide. They eventually sold to HPC, who has Apartment Guide, which is now Rent Today, and eventually became an account executive. And so when I think about Michelle and I think about you, I think, wow, I believe I was one of the first Black women in the industry to work on that side of the business with the directories. And it was important to me to do it with excellence, because one of the things that I have felt a responsibility for, and I feel like I listen to others in our community that agree, that we carry the weight of our entire community whenever we enter these rooms that we've never been in before. Because it's not just Dana that didn't perform, and didn't live up to expectations. It's the whole Black community. And now it's going to take another 10 years for us to take another test or to try out another person that looks like that. So I came into those spaces with that additional weight. And I will say that I didn't realize the mental stress that that does have on you as an individual. But it is stressful to feel that heavy burden that you cannot fail, and that you've got to be faster and you've got to be smarter and you've got to be stronger, in order that it creates opportunities for those that come behind you. And so when I hear about you and your path with Apartment Finder, I feel like, yay, yay.
You know what? And that definitely resonates with me, because if I would have seen you back, I had already been on site for 10 years when I got to Finder. I had never seen any Black suppliers before. And when I became a supplier in Memphis, I was told the same things by some of my people like Adelia Parker. They tell me, Ty, you were the first person that came into our office as a Black supplier. So it made me think that I can do it too. And you're right. I still feel that way. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Because even when I stepped off stage last week at BAM, it was my first time keynoting. And some of my ladies in the Melanin and Multifamily group, I know that they have not keynoted yet, but they aspire to. And I felt like getting off stage, I felt like they were all imaginarily up there on my back with me. And it's like,
Yes, we
okay, I'm
are.
going to deliver. So Monica Frazier can get a keynote. Ashia Shepherd can get a keynote. Lala, Monique, like everybody in our group who, if that's in their heart to do that. Dana Duckworth, I want them to be able, and I felt like these people were on my back. But I'm going to tell you, when I came off the stage, I'm going to tell you who back that I felt like I was on. Dana Hill, Marcy French, Melissa D. White, Shakur Connor. I felt like a thank you is owed to these people publicly, because these are the ladies that I saw on stage prior to me getting on there. So I'm going to bring back up this picture, since we're talking about being on stage. I want to bring back up this picture right here, because like I said, this was a moment where I'm like, oh my God. And I've been so compartmentalized in NAA. I love y'all. I love everything y'all do for this industry. And I am a champion and I recruit and I push people and I will work until I'm done in this industry. However,
However,
I want to see more people that look like me. And not just on the stage at the breakout sessions. The day that I stand on stage at NAA and give a keynote, it will be at a general session. And I mean that
I
because
believe
I
it.
am grass rooted in this industry. And to see our people stand on stage, this means something. So let's talk about this moment and what it meant for you. How many times had you stood on this stage, or was it your first time? Let's talk about what this moment was for you, Dana.
This was a culmination of a dream coming true, Ty, because this was my very first time being invited to speak on the stage at NAA. And I was invited by none other than the amazing Marcy French. And there's not enough time on this call for me to call out the names of those who sewed into Dana Hill, enabling me to show up and be here today. For anyone to even want to ask me anything about my walk or my experience. But Melissa White, Dr. Debbie Phillips, oh my goodness, Marcy, Bevan White, who connected Marcy and I, oh, Stephanie Anderson. I oh my goodness. And I hate calling names because I'm forgetting somebody and I don't want to offend them because Virginia Love. How can I not say Virginia Love's name? These are people who sewn into me, but I will tell you, trying to stay on track. I eventually went to my first NAA. I don't remember what year, but it was long time ago. And back then, I was going into these sessions, and it was men. It was white men owning the stage, and I saw I did not see a lot of diversity at NAA. And I had that similar experience when I elevated to what they called a publisher at Apartment Guide, and I was invited to a regional meeting there. And I was the only one out of 200 some leaders that was sitting in that room on the sales side. And support side, yes, but on the sales side. And every time I find myself in those spaces, Ty, I say, well, then you're here for a purpose and a reason. Now, what are you going to do about it? Not they need to fix this and this should be that. Dana Hill, and for those who know me, I was Dana Smith for a long time. What are you going to do about it? And I decided that I was going to invite people from diverse backgrounds into this amazing, incredible industry that served me so well that you could actually build a career out of. And as I built this group of people, diverse people who are excellent and show up and show out, that we would make lanes and spaces for ourselves in these places that never thought of us before, never welcomed us before. And so I went to my first NAA and I said, one day, I'm going to be on the stage of NAA sharing. I have no idea what anybody would want to get from me, but I'm going to be on that stage. And I thought when I met Melissa White, you know what? That's my vision. I'm going to help others get to be on that stage. And that ship has passed for me. And I'll just invest in other excellent, talented people to help me see that diversity that I wanted to see. And never, ever thought that I would be on that stage once I thought my season passed. But like you said, Ty, I was on that stage with women, all women, and all women of color. I never thought that was going to happen in my time. I thought we'll get to see more women on stage. And I got to see that. And I remember celebrating that. And then I said, well, let's see more people of color. And so we started seeing that. I was so proud when Melissa White spoke at NAA. And then we're saying, wait, we can own the stage. We can be a full panel of people of color owning the stage. And I was proud. That room was to capacity, wasn't it, Ty? It was to
And y'all
capacity.
was dropping them gems, and your shoes were shoeing, if I remember correctly. Because when you said fashion, I'm like, I think that's what I came up to you and said was something about the shoes that you had on. And one of the things that I want to go back to and touch on before we move forward, Dana, you said, I thought there wasn't a place for me anymore. Do you know how many of us that have been in this industry feel like our season has passed? Or feel like, well, I can help the next generation, but that time has passed for me. And that's something that Melissa and I talk about, because I, even from being in this industry for so long, it seemed like I'm new to a lot of people, but I've been around for so long that even me trying to find my place sometimes, I'm like, where is my place at? But now I'm like, you know what? The place that I tried to fit in, maybe that space has passed, but this new space that we're creating ourselves, that we're walking in boldly, this is the time. And I stood up in front of BAM last week and I said to their audience, if there ever was a time for Black women, the time is now.
The
Michelle
time is
Obama made it
now.
cool to be a beautiful Black woman with style. Like, if there ever was a time, the time is now.
The time is now. And I had to turn because everything you just said is like, has me, my inside girl, jumping up and down. Because yes, I'm like, yes, Ty, yes, that part, all of that. And the reality is, you all are in these spaces and you're not asking for permission. You're not asking to be invited. You are breaking ceilings and tearing down doors, and you're like, oh, well, I can't come in here. Then how about I'll create my own path? And then now that I've created a path, I open the door and say, now y'all come on in. Everybody come on in. I open the door. And I will say, one of the people who inspired me to want to be in politics was my girl, Shirley Chisholm. And Shirley Chisholm says, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And that is what I say you all are doing every day. Like when I think of Dana Duckworth and Adelia, all of the Monica, um, you, Melissa, Marcy, you guys are creating your own lanes and creating your own spaces to embrace everyone. Not just I'm opening the door just for my community, but I'm opening the door because this is what diversity inclusion looks like. This is what it looks like. It's inclusive. It's welcoming all the voices to come in, so that we can learn from one another and so we can expand. And so I love where the industry is going. I love the growth that I'm seeing. But there is a sense of pride. I'm just going to say that whenever I see Monica, whenever I see you all, when I saw Melanin and Multifamily, I was like, come through. Yes, everything. And then your podcast. And then Dana's like getting an award at NAA for DEI. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm Dana. I'm supposed, it's, we're all embodying one another and making space for everyone. And that's the part that really speaks to me the most. That we are making space for everyone. I look at the young lady that works with me today, here at Rangewater, as Senior Director of Engagement, Tanisha Houghton. Baby, when I tell you, keep an eye on that one, write her name down. She's tearing down doors and breaking ceilings and doing it unapologetically, doing it with poise, so much poise and grace and professionalism that I marvel at her every day. And I look at that and I feel a sense of joy and pride that I am making my mom, Geraldine Morris, proud every day, because I not only I was not only impactful in my own right, but have had the opportunity, like she taught me, to pay it forward and make that space for others. And when I say you all have exceeded anything that I could have imagined, you're doing it. And I'm so proud to be a part of it, to be connected to it, to have my name associated with you all, to sit in a seat that you've created for me, that other greats that you've named have sat in. I'm humbled and honored all at the same time.
Dana, you are the absolute best. For you guys who do not know this is Dana and I first time having a conversation. We saw each other in passing and talked on social media and on the morning activation calls with Melissa D. White, but this is our first time just actually having a conversation. And I just want to go on record to let you know we would not be able to do the things that we are doing without the trailblazers like you first. Like you said with Shirley Chisholm, if there's not a seat at the table to bring one, James Burwell talked about that when he came on my podcast. We come into the seat, we bring in the folding chair. Y'all know about them folding chairs. And we banging on tables, and hopefully that's all we got to bang on with them folding chairs. Don't push us. So I love it. We are the spaces that we are creating for ourselves. And one of the things that I'm going to tell you that I'm really loving, and especially with the Melanin and Multifamily Group, I think it was Stephanie Anderson from Grace Hill that said, climbing to the top doesn't have to be a ladder. Why can't it be a jungle gym? You know what? It was Irsi. Her first name is Irsi, and she was on Melissa's show, and she said that. Why can't it be a jungle gym? And I think for the first time as Black women, we are learning that it can be a jungle gym to get to the top. Dana can get to the top at the same time as Ty and Monica and Dana Duckworth and Melissa D. White. And we all, if we're on a jungle gym, when somebody slides, give them a hand up. Hey, if you need to catch my leg, you're tired right now. Come on, rest on my leg for a minute, sis. But keep climbing. Now, I want to go on record to say the only way you can get on this jungle gym is if you are already in climb mode. If you're not climbing and you just want to hold on to somebody's leg and be wait, I'm gonna be the first girl to kick you off my foot. Now you can't go if that's what you're gonna do. So, Dana, we've talked about
I
the
love
health
it.
scare in the we talked about you coming from Baltimore. We talked about your love for books. We talked about now the working at Rangewater in real estate. What is next? Before you tell us what's next for Dana, we always like to give out books for my book people. Give us your top 3 books right now because these listeners go out there and we order them books off of Amazon. So, top 3 books. Did you hear me,
Wow, I
Dana?
should have prepared myself
Or
for
give me your
that.
top one.
I have been doing a lot of personal reading.
Okay.
Ty, we've got a little technical. I didn't hear that.
So you say
I didn't
even
hear
if
what
it's
you
your
just
top
said.
one book, is it doing this to us? You
No,
still can't
so
hear me?
It is. It's doing this to us. But I read recently. Um, oh my goodness, names are slipping me right now. I'm rebuking that spirit that's trying to take these names from me. Viola Davis, her recent autobiography, bar none. I'm telling you, read it if you have not read it. That's my number one. I just finished a lesson in chemistry, which I think Apple has started a series about it. That was another motivator of a woman who was breaking down ceilings. And currently reading Covenant of Water. Now, those are books that I've been reading that have not been about uh, a lot of self-help. It's just personal reading. I love Viola. At the end of the day, all of them gave me some lessons about growth and development. But I will say I was working with a leadership coach, Ryan Hodgson. If you ever need a leadership coach in your life, besides the best, the Melissa White, there is Ryan Hodgson. And he turned me on to a book called The Four Agreements. And it's a really small book, but it has been very impactful. And I chew on that book a lot when I'm reminding myself to stay the course. And so I encourage people to get that. It's a short read and an easy read, but is a difference maker.
So we have 4 more minutes, Dana. What's next for Dana Hill?
You know, when you said it could be a jungle gym, I thought about Dr. Debbie Phillips, who heard me at our Rangewater Inspire conference, and I was being Thai. I was interviewing a gentleman who uh, started Atlanta Influences Everything. And I'm on the big stage for all of Rangewater, and I'm very nervous about doing this. Um, and so I'm in the moment. I get off stage, and Debbie pulls me and she said, I just had the vision. You deserve a mic in your hand. I don't know the full picture, but you need to be on stages. And she said, Dana, your pathway forward doesn't have to be a ladder. It can be a lattice. And I had to walk away and say, um, what does that mean? But you brought it home. You brought it home, Ty, with the whole jungle and the there's different ways to get to that same place. And so what's next for me, Ty? I really do want to develop my own consulting firm. There's a lot of talents and gifts that I have. My actions around DE&I, engagement, reputation management, sales, leadership. There's a lot that I can sow into others on a larger scale while still serving myself. Um, and Ty, the vision will come to pass. We are going to talk about this. You're going to be able to bring this audio up and say, see, she said it then on my podcast. I will be someone with dual citizenship here in the United States and also in the south of France. And I will be speaking on stages and consulting. That's what's next for Dana Hill.
Come on, sis. I love it. Y'all have heard it here today, October the 10th, 2023. Dana has put it out there in the atmosphere. We know that the tongue is powerful, and I am in agreement with you today, sis. So I cannot wait to see you on that stage and having dual citizenship. The only thing I ask you to do is to invite me. Won't he
Oh,
do it?
that's a given. That's a given. You got the invitation. And I got to use these last few seconds. I see my girl, Tammy Majette. I see my man, Frank Jones, who remembers that conference because he pulled me aside and said, we have never seen you before. So shout out to him, Jamie Lee. Shout out to all my people who came to support me and be here with me today. I love you all. And if I didn't call your name, charge it to my head and not my heart, because you all know I love you and I mean it from the heart. I love you.
Well, Dana, what
Thank
comes
you,
from the
Ty.
heart reaches the heart. And I just want to say again to you, thank you. Continue to be who you are. Know that there are eyes looking at you. I always reach back to my group and say, who should I bring on next? Who should I bring on next? And from more than one person, Dana Hill. You got to have Dana Hill on. We got to talk to Dana. We want to hear from her. We are watching you. We are modeling our business after your business, our speeches after yours. So continue to walk in all of your greatness. Continue to kick down them doors one stiletto at a time, and know that we are walking right behind you. I have your back in every piece of business. So if there is ever a way that I can partner with you or support initiatives, please to reach.
Thank you. Thank you, Ty. Thank
You're
you. I
welcome for coming
appreciate you
on.
so
Thank you
much.
for everybody who has spent their lunch hour with us and for all the amazing comments that you guys have left. And thanks for tuning in to another episode of Talking with Ty. We have some amazing people coming up like Shakura Connor. Don Bruner is going to sit down and have a conversation with me. So there's a lot of heavy hitters that are coming up, guys. Continue to stay tuned. Be wrapping up season 2 shortly. I keep getting people. So I'm thinking I'm going to wrap it up before AOD. That's going to be our last one for this season. So if there's anybody that you guys want to hear on Talking with Ty, or if you have a story that you want to share, please do not hesitate to hit me up. Have an amazing Tuesday, everybody. Dana, thank you again. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you in San Diego.
Yes, you will.
All right. Have an amazing day. And thank you so much, Dana.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ty.